Well, it's 2:30. Welcome everybody. I'd like to call our Nash County Commissioners meeting together for August the 21st. Welcome everyone. Want to remind you to cut your cell phones back on when you leave here. I know they're all off at the present time. Afraid not, okay.
That's a good way of saying it.
I left mine in the car.
Left yours in the car, okay. I would just say before we start, we'll probably see things change a little bit, and one of our local reporters has warned me already that the headlines tomorrow will read that the Nash County Commissioners met under cover of darkness today.
I thought when it got dark we were gonna leave.
Well, you're gonna leave very shortly here, I understand that, but that probably will help sell some papers and probably be like some of the headlines you see on AOL, but the headlines doesn't really dictate what's in the story below, but we'll see how that goes. I'd like to welcome a mayor from Dorchester, Kirby Brown. Glad to have you here today, sir.
Appreciate it.
And Steve Wordsworth, one of our local businessmen. Glad to have you, Steve. And I believe everyone else is normally here, and we have one presenter, which we'll get to in a few moments. And Mr. Tyson, excuse me, sir. Everybody knows Mr. Tyson anyway, former commissioner. Thank you, Mary. We normally start our meetings out with the invocation, and Ms. Richardson, if you would lead us in that, I'd appreciate it, ma'am.
Thank you. Let us bow. Dear Heavenly Fathers, again we come into your presence with thankful hearts and minds. Thank you for blessings of life, health, and strength. And here today we pause right now again, Lord, to just humble ourselves through all the tragedies and sadness that we are going through in our neighborhood and in our nation. We ask you, Lord, to keep our minds on you and look to you for all our guidance and understanding. And bless our nation and keep us safe. For it's in your name we ask it all. Amen.
Amen. If there's no objection from the board, I'd like to change the agenda just a little bit, and what I want to do is to move item 9 up to the first item that we would take up, which is a discussion on memorial by Billy Morgan. And what you're really going to probably be upset with me about is I'm going to suggest that we take a trip down to the memorial area that we plan on doing this, and so each one of us can see the area. And two purposes, we're going to have an event here that just about 9 more minutes that none of us will probably experience again, or some of us won't experience again in our lifetime. And we can all walk outside for just a few minutes. If you have your glasses, if you feel like it, if you choose not to walk outside, and of course everything I do, I've got to have approval from my board. Does any board member object to us doing that and looking at the area, garden area? We plan to put that in first. And Mr. Belfield did call me early this morning and said he had a doctor's appointment at 1:30 that he just could not miss, and that he would join us as soon as he could. So that's where he's at presently. So with that said, I'd like for us to just take a recess, walk outside, look at that area. I'm going to have Stacy explain to us exactly where the things are proposed to go, and you may want to carry your packet with you that covers that item. Then we'll come back in and discuss that, and then move on down the agenda as written. Any opposition to that?
None.
All right. I'll call us back to order in our committee room if I could, and I appreciate everybody doing that with us. We can all now say we did indeed view the eclipse and highlighted the time. Correct, Mr. Durham?
Absolutely.
Okay. While we were on that subject, item 9, probably best to go ahead and finish that up. You saw the area that we were planning on working in. I heard several of you say, if you would get to that part of your packet, that you kind of liked the one that was about 4 or 5 pages back that looked like this right here. The one at the bottom does not have to be that, but something along that line up out of the paved area in front of the flagpoles, and then on that we would have something that made it very clear that this particular memorial park was put in the remembrance of Mr. Morgan, 30-year commissioner, and then he would have a plaque out in front of it that would replace one of the large pavers that you saw out there, and then you would have 49 more in front of you that you could replace with other people as they come forward. Any commissioner have any thought different from that on where we're headed?
I haven't thought about this one. Since it's a rectangle place out there, the base of it may be look better square instead of a round thing. Here you're looking at a moon-shaped wall. If out there, if it was square, the base of it, like the bricks here that's sitting in a round, if it was square,
It
sitting in
would
there.
either need to be square or sitting
I don't
dead
think it needs to
center
be round, sitting
of
where
four of
it's-
them, where four of them come together, one or the
Yeah,
other. I agree with you there.
yeah.
But we are at the point where I think we'd all like to move this forward if we can give Stacy just a little bit of direction. Does anyone have any completely different thought than that, or are we all in harmony with that?
Put his picture on the back.
We'll get, I'll ask that question in just a moment. So we okay with that concept? Centerpiece out there where we talked about pavers in
Yeah,
front?
it's different.
Okay, Ms. Wells, go ahead with your question.
I just wanna know where we're gonna get one of the plaques with his picture on.
Okay, the plaques that go out in front, I feel like we will somewhat set a precedence where we start with those plaques. I studied this quite a bit last night, looked over it again this morning, and to me, the one with the picture sure brings your attention to it a lot more. So, that's just,
You said the
just
picture,
how.
stop and look to see who it is.
Sure, exactly. Any other thoughts on that?
Well, you're gonna have some type of brass plate attached to this thing here.
You would either attach, Wayne, or in
Located
front of it, or
in-
located with it to tell what the whole Memorial Park
Exactly.
concept is about.
This commemorative park is dedicated in honor
Sure.
and memory of Billy
Yep.
D. Morgan, Commissioner, and you could etch his picture on that.
You
particular
could,
plaque.
and then you wouldn't set a
Then you-
precedent by
that's
having a
right.
picture on the plaque. Good idea. Ms. Richardson?
Yes, sir. Will we do an inscription on it? Probably one of his favorite sayings, Nash County first, something like that.
Yes, of
That's what
course.
we identify with Mr. Morgan. And another question is, who would be the writer of it?
Put Nash County first.
Well, I think whatever we came up with, it would come before this board.
I know, but, okay, you're not a designated person to do that.
I think you
not-
might be talking to her. Not you, I think you may be talking to her that's gonna do the
Oh,
script and
okay.
then run it by.
No, well, you know, one of Billy's things was whoever does whatever, you let us offer to Nash County
Right.
person first. That's what I meant,
Yeah.
you know, whoever gonna do it, that's
First,
okay.
foremost, and always.
Good, if you gonna do it, perfect.
He has some other sayings. Do you want them all on the
Oh,
plaque?
Yeah, but some of them don't want it.
We want to stay out trouble, not all of them.
I understand
But
that.
his favorite one, always Nash County is first.
Stacy, if you could, if we could, or Mr. Lamb, just have you to work along those lines, come back with a proposal after the meeting with some memorial companies on something similar to that. And some cost attached to us, and then what the actual plaque that size out there to replace them moving forward would be, and actually some inscriptions that would go on, the base plaque as well as what would be on Mr. Morgan's. You know, if you could get those back to us, when you can make, get it, time to do that. And of course, I personally would just like for us to move forward with it and get it done as quick as we could.
Yes.
Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll go back to the agenda, and we would start back with item number 3, which is Brian Brantley. It's a presentation on the 911 center, and to update where we are with that, if you recall, we've had some discussions since about the beginning of budget time about 911, where it's currently located. It's currently works under the EMS. There was some thoughts of some people in the county, possibly some board members, that we may wish to entertain looking at it being under our sheriff's department. We have had the staff to look at what the norm would be in the state of North Carolina, and we found a big mixture of 4 different ways you could do that. One of them, of course, is where it's at, one of them is under the sheriff's department, one of them is a separate department, and then one that works directly, and reports to the manager. I think the only two that we're currently looking at or entertaining is like it is currently, as well as, possibly under the sheriff's department, like, one county, I know Edgecombe County happens to be that way, and there are numerous other ones that are. We had asked, at Mr. Outlaw's directions, I think, if I remember right, to have some ideas from the two sides of why they thought it would be best to be where they wished for it to be. The sheriff elected to supply the board with written comments that we got about 30 days ago, explaining why he felt like it would work well under the sheriff's department. And now we invited both of them to make a verbal presentation and appearance before the board. The sheriff chose to do it in a written form, and all of you are aware of that. Mr. Brantley and his staff decided to do it, make a presentation before the board, and that's what we're here today for. We will not take any action on it today. My intent is to have this presentation made and then schedule a discussion of the board members at a later meeting, maybe our next meeting, because this is another item that I think it would be nice to, let's go ahead and make up our mind what we're going to do. Simply because it involves a lot of employees that we have, and we don't ever like to have employees unknowing what their current situation is. It's not going to affect any employees, but still, people like to know what their moving forward looks like. And with that said, any other commissioner got a comment? I'm going to let Mr. Brantley go ahead. Mr. Brantley, thank you, sir, for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, it's an honor to be here and an honor to really talk about our 911 center. It's part of our 4 divisions in the Emergency Services Department: 911, EMS, Fire Marshal, and Emergency Management. And so our staff has put this together for you. We've got a hard copy for each one of you. Has that been passed out, Scott? But we want to go through this with you. And the presentation is designed to provide y'all with a brief history, statistics, budget, operational overview of the 911 center, highlighting efficiencies, professionalism, effectiveness to strive to make a positive difference. That is our purpose statement in the Emergency Services Department, is to make a positive difference. Anybody can make a difference in somebody's life, take somebody special to make a positive difference, and that's what our employees work to do. Timeline, Nash County Commissioners hired Mr. Dave Caldwell back in 1985 to run an emergency services department. I was fortunate enough to be asked to join Mr. Caldwell at that time. He came as a director from Alamance County with 911, EMS, Fire Marshal, Emergency Management. I learned quite a bit from him. A lot of our employees learned a huge amount from Mr. Caldwell, who passed away a couple of Mays ago. He stayed here to the end of 1995, and the commissioners appointed me director, or Mr. Deal did, and the commissioners approved it. We did not have 911 then. We had a 7-digit dial. If you lived in the Nashville area, it was 459-7376. In the Wilson area, dial 291-2600 or 291-0692. We moved, we did get a grant to build this 480-foot tower you see out here at the Animal Control Shelter. That was our whole communications center tower after that was purchased with a grant. Our radio system improved quite a bit then. In '88, we were clapping our hands. We got basic 911. You dial 911 instead of a 7-digit dial. That was one of the greatest things that happened in my career, was you didn't have to dial 7 digits. You could dial 911. Robbie Stone, he was our supervisor for 911 at that time. And we continued to work, so we got not just you could dial 911, but we would see your phone number when you dial 911. That was the second greatest thing that had ever happened. So we could call you back if we got disconnected with the 911 call. That's the automatic number identification. You may have heard over the years me mention Annie. Well, then there's Allie. Allie is automatic location identification, so then we could tell where you were calling from. Not only did we get your phone number, but we could tell where you were calling from, and that was just huge in the 911 system. I will give credit to the Nash County Tax Office. They did that addressing. They had to redo from Route 1, Box 303, Route 3, Box 202, and they gave a street address to every 10.56 feet on any road in Nash County. And so then we went to street addresses. So it pop up 7040 West Old Spring Oak Road, come up on a map, and it was just amazing. Emergency service numbers, that's where we can actually put into a district what fire department, what EMS unit, what sheriff's or law enforcement agency responds. And we've got several ESNs across the county that identifies whether that's Sheriff's District 1, whether it's Spring Hope Fire Department, whether it's Bailey Fire Department. That is instrumental in providing good 911 service. 93, the commissioners approved a surcharge, 75 cents per phone. We use that to purchase equipment. 1994, Nash County was one of the first counties in eastern North Carolina to go to emergency medical dispatch, which we will give pre-arrival instructions. Somebody's cut real bad, then we get the information, dispatch the ambulance and the fire department, and then we will tell them what to do with the cut or heart attack or whatever it may be. We were one of the first in North Carolina to do that. North and South Towers, that improved the radio system in 98 and then moved over to this building in November of 99. 0304, we used Department of Homeland Security funds to upgrade the radio system. This board approved that, or the commissioners approved it. 05, we looked at a lot of computer-aided dispatch, which really brought technology more into our field. And the sheriff's office had been using Vision software, and so when we went computer-aided dispatch to integrate with the sheriff's system that was already in place, we went with Vision software as well, saving about $300,000 rather than going out and purchasing all new for the sheriff and the county. So Sheriff Grimes was pleased with that. We saved quite a bit of money with that. In 2011, y'all all remember that Robbie Stone and Bryant Fisher, Robbie our past director and Brian our current director, set out to get a grant to have a backup 911 center. Robbie and I had been talking about it for 20 years, but the funding just wasn't available. The 911 funds became available, the 60-cent surcharge on all the phones in the state of North Carolina, and that was one of the top priorities for the 911 board in North Carolina. And Robbie and Bryant put it together. We put it in the new EMS building in Rocky Mount and received $1.2 million from that phone surcharge money from the 911 board. We can set up and run that center. If we have to leave the center, within 15 to 25 minutes, we are dispatching from that center, even if it's at 2 o'clock in the morning, because we've done tests numerous times. And we can actually, within 25 minutes, be dispatching calls from over there. I think that's one of Robbie Stone's greatest accomplishments. He always said, Brian, we got to get that done. We got to get it done. We got it done. Guess what he did? He retired on it. So I wish he'd have told me that. But Bryant's done a super job. Bryant worked under Robbie for many, many years and has done a great job for us as well. Here's some statistics we wanted to show you. 52,144 emergency calls per year. These are the 911 lines, the 121,000 non-emergency calls, the 350,000 DCI transactions. That's pretty much law enforcement, somebody calling in a license plate or a license check, checking on stolen property, so forth and so on. That is something that we do for law enforcement. We are utilizing 5 communicators per shift, and trying to get the sixth person at peak times. So when we're really, really busy, we've got 6. We are currently fully staffed. I think one of the reasons we are is I'll talk about the 911 Academy with the Nash Community College collaboration that I think some of y'all saw. We just got an award at the Commissioners Association. Very proud of that. Bryant Fisher actually put that grant together with help from Mark and some of his staff. Scott's going to address the 5 communicators per shift a little bit later and how that affects our fire departments. Some comparisons. We certainly wanted y'all to see how we sort of stack up to call volume, population, budget, 911 calls, administrative calls. The next to the last line over to the right is TCs, that's the telecommunicators. As you can see, we've got 23 telecommunicators with 2 administrative staff. Harnett County's got 25 with 3. And y'all can look at those numbers. I don't have to read them, but we certainly feel like we're doing a good job with the taxpayers' money here. The studies indicate a national turnover rate between 17% and 19% in telecommunicator world. 2 out of every 10 telecommunicators leave the profession every year. And we have had that issue, but I think you'll see some things coming up in the presentation that really is helping Nash County with that. Total general fund, as you saw on the page before, $1,682,332, and then we received approximately $36,000 per month from the E911 funds. And Bryant is probably learning this from Robbie Stone. Bryant is probably one of the best, and I think Donna would agree. He understands that 911 funding system as good as anybody does. And we are always going to be legitimate with that fund, but we're also going to try to get all we can from that fund because it does come from your cell phone, 60-cent surcharge. And you can see some of the things that that fund pays for underneath that, but we cannot pay for salaries and benefits out of that. We can only pay functions. When you talk about administrative support functions, we do have our mapping function paid for out of that funding every year. So there's some other issues. And again, since 2008, we have received $6.2 million, including the $1.2 million grant from the 911 board. We just wanted to run through what we're looking for. This is Jonathan. He's over from the Coopers area. Displayed professionalism, good customer service, ability to multitask, operate phone, CAD radio system, geographic knowledge of the area, which is in our training program, ability to make critical decisions, keep track of multiple field units. We can have a law enforcement officer in a chase, we can have a fire department responding to a fire, and we can have an EMS unit running a cardiac arrest all at one time. And those 5 people or 6 have to keep up with all that. And of course, follow our policies and procedures and protocols. These are some of the certifications that are required by our telecommunicators. Emergency medical, which was in '94. We did emergency police and emergency fire, I think in 2010. What we had seen without the protocols, it was very difficult to train our people to be consistent. These protocols are internationally proven protocols that police agencies, fire agencies, and medical agencies are using throughout the entire, not only the country, but an international program. We've had all of our folks trained in National Incident Management System, which really came after the 9/11 situation. The law enforcement NC Aware, CJ Leads, CPR, and the DCI requirements. Abby, she's a relatively new telecommunicator. She just, one of our employees was down at the Sheets recently and said, I don't know who that young lady was on the phone the other night, but she saved my wife and children some real heartache. And we found out it was actually a Nash County employee that called. There was a gentleman under their garage at 11 p.m. at night when the husband got home, laying in his garage. We notified the sheriff's office. They immediately started that way. Abby stayed on the phone with the wife because the husband pulled up and didn't go under the garage. He called his wife, said, "Hey, there's somebody in the garage." And he said, "Call 911. So she called 911. Abby answered. Sheriff's office got there, and they wanted a picture with Abby the next day. So I think they came down within the next few days, and she works in the tax office, and she just thanked Abby for doing a great job. She's been with us, I would say a year or so. Outstanding. 80% of primary PSAPs, public safety answering points in North Carolina, utilize at least one of these International Academy of Emergency Dispatch protocol. That again improves consistency. Key to this is our responder and officer safety, and the questions that we have to ask tries to protect that law enforcement officer, the EMS, fire, or rescue person responding. Given pre-arrival instructions, there's no question. We have had people that we started CPR from the 911 center, and we've had people come in that were actually dead. CPR was started, and they go to the EMS station later or come by our 911 center. We know that has saved lives. And again, Abby's case study I mentioned to you. According to the Association of Public Safety Communications, which is commonly known as APCO, only 1 to 2% of the population have the necessary qualities to do this job. Stress, schedules, and overload have caused a strong shortage of 911 operators nationwide. APCO commissioned a study that cites 97% of telecommunicators will not work long enough to retire from this profession. Employee retention. This has been a real issue for us in the last 10 years. We just had a class here. The lady came from Florida. She ran the Miami-Dade 911 center. She says as well that it's the top issue with 911 professions. But it's what we decided to do was to continually try to reduce some of this stress within our own department. So we've sent some of them to the critical incident stress management, and we encourage them to go to that. If you look down here, we had a nice family night with our people. We do, anytime we have promotions, we try to bring in family members so they can see that. We've just implemented a program. Well, it's actually one of our employees implemented it, and he has brought the dogs into the center for just a few minutes. And what these dogs do is relieve the stress on the employees after a bad incident. So if you know, an employee helps a mother administer CPR on the phone to her infant, when that phone call ends, that telecommunicator keeps hearing that mother. I've heard it myself, and I can think of one right now one of our employees handled, and was not a good outcome, and he had a tough time dealing with it. He actually had to go get some psychological help. And the county provides the EAP, that's the Employee Assistance Program. Thank y'all for funding that. It's not a very expensive program, but my employees have used it over and over again, and it is very helpful. Thank you for that.
Have you identified some of the causes of the stress
Yes,
within the department?
Yes, sir. Part of that is when your staffing is low, having to call them back in. So now that we're fully staffed, that's really helpful. That's why we implemented the program I'm getting ready, that y'all saw at the association, that has been so helpful to us. But we also are training our supervisors to not let that employee sit over there after they've handled 2 cardiac arrests on a 12-hour shift. That supervisor now goes to that employee and says, look, you may need to go home. You may need this. I want you to go to EAP. Where 25 years ago, me and Scott used to say, if I ask for help, I'm weak. You can't do that anymore because it has really become so stressful, and the call volume, it can happen. We can run 3 or 4 or 5 codes in a day with Nash EMS, and these telecommunicators are trying to handle telling wives and husbands how to do CPR. They can have an officer get involved in a terrible situation where that officer's safety is in an issue. That puts them in a real stressful situation. Recruitment effort. You recognize a problem, if you don't do nothing about it, you're gonna have the same results. We decided, Robbie, again, and I talked about this for 15 years, to let's do something to train people on how to dispatch. There are so many different dispatch centers in the state of North Carolina. How do you train them to be that way? Different CAD systems, different radio systems, different consoles, different policies, procedures. Well, we decided to do it after Robbie retired, and Robbie did support it. But after Robbie retired, we decided to do this, and we partnered with Nash Community College, and it may be one of the best things we've ever done. We have hired 11 people out of that academy since the first one. We've had 2 of those 11 leave. One just couldn't quite do the job, and one did not like the shift. She had a brand new baby, and she could not work their rotating 12-hour shifts. So out of those, we've got 9 still with us. We knew what kind of employee they were going to be pretty much because we had spent, my staff had trained them at the college for 120 hours of classroom, and we bring them in 24 hours to train with our own employees. So our own employees get to see these people. So when there's an advertisement for a full-time job, one of my supervisors may say, I tell you, Miss Johnson did a great job while she was training. But that academy, and then you can look at the funding, we've gone from 6 to 7 months of training time to 3 to 4 months, saving almost $7,000 per new hire in training costs, just in salaries alone. So if we've hired 9, we've saved about $63,000 in training cost alone, not counting buying uniforms and then they quit or whatever. So this has been great with the college, reduced training time 40%. Reducing, Mr. Belfield mentioning what you said, when we've got these folks coming in and we're fully staffed, we don't have to call those people back in that have already worked 40 or 44 hours. That's helped reduce the stress as well. The Academy project was a 17 North Carolina Association of County Commissioner Innovation Award winner. And we are still the first and only academy in the state, but the community college is getting calls all the time from other places that are hearing about it, and we're getting calls from the 911 centers. How'd y'all pull this off? So we're real proud of that. Training new hires, these are the academic phase. They spend 6 weeks of in-house classroom training with our training officer. Some of that is classroom, and some of it is at the backup center in Rocky Mount, showing them how to use the new protocols and how to use the console and so forth. Then we move our trainees into the 911 center, and they train with a certified training officer that we have in our center. We just had 5 go through that certified training officer training. We got the training here in Nash County, which is a national training, so we didn't have to spend a dime on motels. We got the instructor to come from Miami-Dade, Florida, to train here in Nash County, and I think we had about 25 from all over. One training officer came from as far as California. You remember when in California? He traveled all the way to Nash County to get that training. Total of 6 to 9 months before release. Non-academy graduates, academy graduates average 3 months before release. Ride-alongs, the sheriff has been great with working with us, the fire departments, and of course, I guess you could say I can sort of dictate what happens with EMS a little, but we send our new hires out to ride with the sheriff so they get an understanding of how that law enforcement officer is seeing that. And then the fire department, Nashville Fire Department, has been really instrumental helping us with this. All the other departments said they'd be glad to, but y'all know Nashville's paid 24/7, so it's easy to get them on those trucks. And then they ride with our EMS crews. We try to put them at the stations in Rocky Mount, they're definitely gonna get call after call so they get to see it. That has been really beneficial put in by our training department. Some of the Con Ed, we will show you what our Con Ed requirements are, but these are some of the speakers we've had in the last few years. Law enforcement, paramedic Dale Griffin, Fire Marshal Chris Bissett, Donna Dockery from the school system. So we try to get a mixture of training for our folks. Down there at the bottom, they're studying Nash County maps so they understand the geography of the county. And you can see some of the topics that these officers and these paramedics talked about. Y'all are familiar with the Project Lifesaver. That's Chris Bissett teaches them how that Project Lifesaver works. Continuing education, we are our own teaching institution, one of the very few in North Carolina that has a teaching institution for 911. This significantly reduces the training and travel costs because we have 3 instructors right here in our own department. And that has been a real benefit to us maintaining these instructions per hour, per year. Online training, I want to thank Scott and Mark Revis for working on a online training through Nash Community College. I think we've run, what, 1 or 2 classes through that, Scott? And also our employees can utilize online training from Richmond Community College.
Well, tell me something about that online training. How's that done?
Well, Scott, if
What they have is they have to have so many hours per month, and of course, we offer that number of hours in the classroom downstairs. But if they happen to miss for whatever reason, or they want additional training on a topic, Richmond Community College has a real robust program that offers a lot of 1 hour, 3 hour topics online. And in the past year, we have developed a couple of classes here at our community college, and it's really just a supplement to the classroom training.
so you go online, you have to study, and then take a test at the end of it to get through it. This is a real important piece of the information with the, if you see the gentleman there in the middle, that's Dr. Ken Moore. He is our medical director for EMS, and it is required by the state of North Carolina that if you're operating with a medical protocol that you must have a medical director. Dr. Moore has been associated with us for 19 years. Some of y'all remember Dr. Westover. Y'all actually presented him a plaque a couple of years ago. Dr. Westover has passed away since then. But when Dr. Westover resigned from the county medical director, Dr. Moore took it over. He has written an extremely nice letter about his 19 years and that he is tickled to death to see our compliance scores at 99.6%. It exceeds the International Academy of Emergency Dispatch Center of Excellence standard of 95%. We've got 99.6%. We have 2 certified quality assurance and quality improvement instructors on the staff. We are doing, I think we've done about 600 actual individual contacts with our employees this year. If they have a bad call, if they have a lot of questions, they'll come to our training staff and they go over those calls individually with them. And you can see them providing feedback sessions to individual employees, and every cardiac arrest that our telecommunicator handles is audited. And that's getting more and more. Ongoing improvement, bi-monthly supervisors meetings are held. We have the sheriff's office. We've been doing this since Sheriff Grimes and my former boss got together. Sheriff Grimes said he didn't want to have anything to do with 911. At the time, in 94, 95, my boss and Sheriff Grimes and the commissioners agreed to put it all under one umbrella. So when that telecommunicator is talking to somebody that needs help, he can tell the law enforcement, fire, and EMS all at the same time. But we do have a supervisor from the sheriff's office come to every bi-monthly meeting. I can go back and name from way, way back how they've been coming over to our meetings. If there's any issues going on, we want them to bring that up, and we'll try our best to address any law enforcement. One of the things we utilize now as an officer safety thing is a Signal 3. And that is for that telecommunicator to say that to the police officer, don't put this in the newspaper. But anyway, that's something that's a security thing, and that was implemented by the sheriff's office and us working together as a team way back, and some police chiefs were in on that. The public relations campaigns, we're doing that. You can see those that we enjoy doing, let people know about public. Now I'm gonna turn it over to Scott with the technology issues, since he's a real technological guru here.
I don't know what to think of that. I'm afraid to say that I've been around long enough that I remember when there was no technology involved in this work. You really just picked up a common telephone and talked on the radio, and as long as you knew the county, you were doing pretty well. But now it does take a lot of technology in order to make the system work appropriately. Our current radio system that we dispatch public safety on, we maintain 7 radio sites that have common systems, transmitters and receivers, combiners. We maintain generators at each of the 7 sites to ensure that we have 24/7 coverage with the system. We also, as Brian indicated earlier, have 2 redundant 911 centers. We have the one downstairs in this building, as well as the one in Rocky Mount that we can move to if the need arises. And unfortunately, we have done that a couple of times in the last couple of years. But we have 7 console positions in each of those centers. We have a phone system that's maintained by CenturyLink, a CAD system that we discussed earlier. Of course, we have generator backup at the sites, uninterrupted power supplies so that we don't have to wait on the generator. We have instantaneous power should we lose domestic. Servers, everything, of course, is computer aided now, or computerized. On the far picture, you see just kind of the brains of the 911 center that lives back in the back room, in the equipment room. And then on the picture on this side is a typical console position. The dispatcher's looking at 6 screens all at once, and then the radio's over to the side. And everything that we do is recorded, and phone calls, radio conversations, and so forth is maintained for a period of time. The technology, again, it takes a lot now to keep it all running appropriately, and we're very fortunate. We have a very technically minded staff. We have one person that maintains the majority of our CAD and GIS components. They're constantly involved in changing districts. If we change a patrol area, or we change a fire district, or we change any response criteria, they have to work on that. The addresses are continuously added. There's always addresses being added to the system, and they're responsible to ensure that that address is tied to the appropriate residents, tied to the appropriate response units. Phone database management, so that when we get that phone call, it plots at your house if that's where you're calling from. The computer-aided server maintenance to, again, make it all work together. And then the end piece, I guess you could say, is the mobile data terminals, or the MDTs as we call them, in the vehicles, in patrol cars, in fire trucks, and so forth. And Kelly maintains those as well, and keeps them updated with new software and all of any little glitches that they might have. We also have a language line service. Occasionally we do have calls that are of non-English speaking callers. We used to have a terribly expensive language line service that you had to call and get somebody on the phone to translate and so forth. A couple of years ago, we were able to find a much better system. It's called a Voyant system, where we still get an interpreter on the phone with our personnel. It turned out to be a much better system, much cheaper, and now the State 911 Board has adopted that as the statewide solution, and they actually foot the bill for that service, so we don't have to pay that locally anymore. Just to show you how we integrate our department on larger scale events, from time to time we're certainly required to call back personnel. Now with having 2 remote sites, we can actually staff 14 positions at one time if we would need to. For some of the events that you see here that occur from time to time. We also have a mobile communications unit that we can deploy to public gatherings, or any social unrest, or any type of major event that occurs in the county. We can staff that with telecommunicators as well as the 911 center. In disaster conditions, from time to time, you know, we have to open the Emergency Operations Center, which is located next door to the 911 center downstairs. When that occurs, we share the load between 911 and the EOC there, because of course during a storm, during a hurricane, something of that nature, the calls for service just quadruple, and we basically integrate our entire emergency services staff along with staff from other departments that help us staff that EOC to answer those calls for service or fill those calls for service. Another piece that I've had the enjoyment of working with the 911 center is you're all familiar with the insurance ratings that each fire district has, and you know how hard we've worked over the past years to get those as low as possible, and I think the fire departments have been very successful in doing that. Part of the grade that they receive is based on the handling of emergency communications. On my side, the slide you see is just an excerpt from the grading schedule that shows that there's possibility of 10 points available for emergency communications. That's 3 points for emergency reporting, 4 for the number of telecommunicators on staff, and 3 for your dispatch circuits. So if you really look at this, what you see is that we have in the past, up to this point, been able to score 8.9 out of those 10 points that's available for the reduction in insurance premiums. So if you look at a Class 6 rated department, which has been our goal for most rural departments, nearly 9 points out of the 40 that they need to be rated at a Class 6 comes from our 911 center. So we've been very proud of the credit that we've been able to get there. The 1 point, I guess you could say, that we have not gotten, if you look over to the far side, is a call volume matrix table, which shows for the number of alarms or number of calls for service we have in a year's time. We should have 6 operators plus 1 supervisor on duty at all times. Luckily, though, we don't have that many. We've been able to meet a standard protocol and answered 90% of our calls in 60 seconds or less. So we have scored very high, we think, but with that and some other technical issues that we're working on, we hope that maybe one day we get those total 10 points. That would be great if we could do that. So that's our involvement with the fire districts and the insurance ratings in the county. We wanted to leave you with just a few success stories. We're very, very proud of our people. They're the ones that make it happen, of course. We had a call over on the side here, on my side here. Bill Trimmer from down in the Bailey area talked with a lady on the phone and ended up helping her deliver a baby on the couch of her home. And that made it into the Journal of Emergency Dispatch. That is a national magazine that goes out. And Bill became a celebrity. And then Ray had to up one him. On the far side is Ray Dixon. Unfortunately, Ray has since retired and unfortunately passed away. But Ray fielded a call from a young lady traveling through Nash County on Interstate 95, and the accelerator on her car stuck. And he talked her all the way through Nash County. Unfortunately, she wrecked down in Cumberland, but wasn't hurt seriously, but he did get her through Nash County without wrecking anyway. And that made it all the way to Rescue 911. If you remember that show, Ray was on the on TV, and Troy Bobbitt is with us. He was on there as well. And then in the middle of the bottom is Abby, and the county employee that Brian was mentioning earlier. She talked with the wife in the house while the husband was outside texting his wife with the intruder under their porch. And then on the far side is a pretty unique story. This young lady, this with Emily Witchard is one of our communicators. This young lady had to call. Her father was hemorrhaging very badly, and Emily handled that call. It was successful. He managed to do well, and she had to come by and see Emily. And just as a side note, she took such an interest in 911 that she actually took the first academy. She didn't want to be a communicator, but she wanted to know more about the business, so she did sit through the classwork and seemed to really enjoy it. The last slide I have for you is just our team. I just wanted to show you the team members that we have. Brian has already mentioned Mr. Fisher. Bryant Fisher is the director there. He's been with us since '94, I believe. And we have some longtime folks. Some of them you recognize, I'm sure, especially our supervisory staff, Bill and Donnie, Keith Wood, Troy Bobbitt, all run a shift. We have some part-timers over on the side that come in and help us cover vacation and sick leave and so forth. And I wanted to include this slide because I think technology that I shared with you is wonderful, but none of it is worth anything without these people. And these people are what I'm so proud of. They do a job in their work now. I'll be honest with you, in my 26 years, I've done most every job we have down there. And I've even done this one when it was a lot simpler, but I would sure hate to think I had to do it now. They do a job that I just don't know if I could do now, to be right honest with you. So I couldn't. Okay. Okay. But again, we're very proud of this group. It sort of amazes me. Some of them, as Brian was indicating, like Abby, for example. I don't know how old Abby is, but she's very, very young. And to come in the door and be able to learn the business and do what they do is somewhat amazing to me now. So we're very proud of them. But that's our presentation for you today, and certainly we'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
As you know, the purpose of this presentation today was to allow the commissioners to analyze where we as a board feel the 911 needs to be in the future. So if you got any questions that would help you determine that, rather than the exact operations of it, I think that's the kind of questions we would need at this time for the two presenters, if you have any questions directly at that. Commissioners?
Well, I'd like to ask one from an academic standpoint. Are you moving in the direction of maybe associate degrees and bachelor degrees in the area of 911? It's a pretty complicated situation, you know, technology.
Right.
I'm just wondering if moving in that direction probably would encourage a lot more.
We do have some of the folks that you saw on our team that do have current degrees. We have a couple with criminal justice degrees and so forth that work with us, not only associates but as well as bachelor's degrees. I guess one of the obstacles we have is the pay rate for somebody with a degree. They've really got to love it and want to come and fill that position. We've been blessed in that some of those that have that criminal justice degree have just decided that, you know, being out in the street wasn't for them and they wanted to be in 911, so that's helped us. But it's just like EMS and fire and law enforcement and everything else. We are seeing an uptick in the number of people coming into the business with degrees or working toward them after they enter.
Yeah, but that's one of the reasons I asked. It may encourage them to stay and probably also increase the pay too.
Other questions? Scott, Brian, we greatly appreciate it. Appreciate your time putting this together.
Yes, I would like to just say I'm getting old, but I've got 35 years as a certified law enforcement officer in North Carolina. I started as a volunteer fireman in 1972. I got my EMT in 1986, and I got certified in emergency management in 88, I think it was. And I'm very proud, as Scott mentioned, of the people I've watched. Law enforcement, I have the utmost respect for law enforcement, fire, EMS, as all of us do. And I really think we've got a great team providing a great service to the citizens that are fully dedicated for that purpose. And anything y'all can do to sort of relieve some of the, a vote of confidence from this board, I think will help us with recruitment and retention for the great employees that we do have and the ones that are coming here in the future. So, and I thank y'all for your support, as it would, none of this would be occurring without y'all's support and the many county commissioners in the past years. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity.
Sure, thank y'all. Scott, while you up there, next item is item 4.
All right.
Sims Fire District.
Okay. You have a handout that I laid on your table that yours looks very similar to this on the very front. I have written on mine, but other than that, it looks like this. This green area on this front sheet is an area that is that was created years and years ago as a rural fire protection district, as well as serves as an insurance district that is covered by the Sims Volunteer Fire Department. The reason for that is, even though Sims is a Wilson County department, they serve this area because up until just this year, there was not a Nash County station close enough to rate that particular area. There has recently been a change in that Bailey Fire Department has built a substation. If you'll look on the second page that you have, the mint green area, I guess you could call it, is the Bailey area, Bailey insurance area. And if you see that gray area, the little hump coming off the county line, is the Sims area, the same thing that you see on the front page, just on a smaller scale. So you can see by the yellow triangle where Bailey has created or built a new fire station, and that fire station has been rated. We have, since that time, extended the boundaries of the Bailey Fire Insurance District. That, as you see, it kind of surrounds that Sims area. We left the Sims area out of the extension simply because it is still funding, the tax revenue from that district is being forwarded to the Sims Fire Department. Since we built the station, redrew the map, we have had some interest, or a couple of commissioners have had some interest from the people that live in this Sims district. They would like to be included in the Bailey district, I think because of the close proximity of the new station. So we drew a proposed fire insurance district map, which is your third page. That includes all of that area. So what you see is that Sims insurance area could go away if that's what, I think it's on the back of your second page, I'm sorry. That Sims insurance territory could go away if you choose to direct us in that path. We really have two issues here. One is an fire insurance rating issue, which we can solve at any point if you direct us to include that area into the Bailey Fire Insurance District. The second issue we have is the tax district. That is a rural fire protection district that was created by a vote of the people back in probably the early 80s, I would imagine. In order to change that would require another vote. However, you can leave that tax district as it is and simply change the contract from contracting with the Sims Fire Department to contracting with the Bailey Fire Department. However, that could not be done, of course, until the end of June of this year, of this coming year, end of the tax year. So we really have two issues, and we can handle either one at your pleasure. One is the insurance territory, and one being the tax territory.
Lisa or Dane, y'all have any thoughts on this?
So the process would be on the insurance part, it would have to be approved by the state.
It would have to go to the state for approval, but it has to be approved by this board first.
Okay.
This board has total control over fire insurance districts. Unfortunately, with rural fire protection districts for tax, you do not. But again, there is a solution to that as well. So the step one would be approval of the insurance district to include all of the Sims area by this board, and then we would send it to the state fire marshal for approval.
Have you discussed this?
Have you got to have two different motions, or you gonna do it all in one? Do you need it all in one? I guess that's what I'm asking. That we do the
Insurance.
insurance first.
I would prefer to do it that way.
Well, is that what the people want to do?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
I've
They've
had
had
several phone
petitions.
calls.
So that's pretty much a
Yeah.
unanimous.
Even though
out
it's
there.
not gonna be a big savings to them, going from a Sims is a 7 to a 4, don't change the insurance as much, and Sims is a 4% tax.
Yes, sir.
Bailey's a 7.
Yes,
When
sir.
you're talking about
So,
fire tax.
but it's about the same, the fire tax. It's about,
That's their
but they want to
homeowner's
be.
insurance, so.
Well, according to our insurance
Guru.
expert,
Does it?
it's not a whole lot, less than.
It's not a lot
whole
from a
lot.
7, it's a lot from a 9 to
On residential.
it's about a wash. The insurance savings against the increase in the
I
tax.
mean, my concern
But
is
that's what
the
they-
people afford. I
they're
mean, that's
for it.
fine with
Well,
me.
I think a lot of it is the perception, when you see a
Yeah.
fire station,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Yep.
in view
Yeah,
from
I
your home,
figured that.
you want to be under that, district.
Have you discussed this with the Sims Fire Department?
They are aware of it. Of course, I knew how they feel about it before I talked to them, but they
They'd
are.
rather not do it, but.
Well, I was just wanted to make
But
sure that
Bailey
at
wants
least
to do it, and the
they know
people in
what's
the
going
area
on.
want to do
Bailey
it.
wants to do it and the people want to do it. You'll
That's
hear no
it.
complaints from Nash County people, so it's what's best for Nash County.
But they would still be
Yeah,
under
that's good.
Sims until next June. They would they,
Tax-wise, yes, ma'am.
right.
The insurance, I would say we change it as soon as we get approval from the state.
And no matter what, you're still gonna have 3 fire departments to respond to a
Yes,
call.
That's right.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
it's,
Sims is not gonna come just because it's not their district anymore, if you have a house fire.
Yes,
They're
sir.
all coming.
We actually, in areas, that area and the Silver Lake area are the only 2 areas that are served by outside county departments. We actually dispatch 3 Nash County departments as well as Sims and Silver Lake.
I guess there'd be more.
I've come to realize I'm the last one to catch on to some of this stuff, particularly something like this, but did I hear you say that the fire tax would stay with Sims, but the primary responsibility would shift to Bailey?
Just
No.
through June 30th
Yeah,
of
fiscal year.
18.
If you all choose, again, the Sims Rural Fire Protection District is established, and we can't change the boundaries of that.
Right.
However, what we can do is eliminate the contract with Sims.
Right.
And reissue that contract to Bailey, which at that time would send the proceeds of this tax district to the Bailey Fire Department.
And it would still be in Sims, it would still be Sims Fire District.
It would be
unless-
called
You'd have to
Sims.
have an election to change
It
it.
would be called the
So
Sims
this is
District,
much
yes.
simpler.
Which we have a lot across the county that don't have the same name as the fire district it serves.
So, okay, that cleared that part of it up for me. What I see here that's going over the county line, some on this last map,
I'm sorry.
I'm assuming that's the county line?
Yes, sir.
What is?
Bailey actually has insurance territory in Wilson County as well.
Okay.
Again, that area is too far from Sims and too far from Rock Ridge, but Bailey can reach it.
Okay, so the fire tax in that area that Wilson collects, where does it end up?
Bailey.
So Wilson's collecting money and sending it to Bailey?
Yes, sir.
They have a contract.
That's right.
They
They
got
have
a
a contract with
Do
Wilson.
we collect any money and send it to another county?
Yes, sir.
Sims and
Sims
Silver
Silver
Lake.
Lake.
Oh, right, we did that fairly recently, okay, I'm caught up.
Yep.
Any other questions? Pleasure of the board?
Are you ready for a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, I move that we change the insurance boundary to include, that area.
Okay, it would actually be,
Scott, why don't you state the motion that we need?
okay.
Thank
you. The motion that we need would be for the Nash County Board of Commissioners to approve the proposed Bailey Fire Insurance District on page 3, which would include all of the Sims area.
Located
In Nash County, yeah,
Nash County.
good point, very good.
That's
And you're-
what you said, Lisa.
You'll
Change the
provide,
insurance district to include
All of the Sims
All.
district within Nash County.
all of Sims district within Nash County.
okay, I have a motion on the floor, is there a second? Second by Mr. Combs, any questions on that motion? Only question, Scott, you gonna get the exact verbiage to the clerk,
And
Yes.
it's recorded.
and it's recorded,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you. All right, great, I keep forgetting about that recording. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign, motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Do you want to?
You-
Oh,
yeah,
is
you
there
got
something
it.
else you
Piece
need?
now, or
Yeah.
you?
I think
It doesn't
we
have
do,
to be
don't we?
done today. I mean, it's up. It's
Yeah,
up
well,
to
you can do it.
Well, I want to listen to 2 commissioners serve that area,
Okay.
what do y'all want?
I'm ready to
Yeah,
go
yeah.
ahead, but it wouldn't take effect until June of next year.
That's right.
Would you state what that motion needs to sound like?
It would, the county would be, I'm sorry, the Board of Commissioners would be authorizing us to notify Sims that we would be ending our fire protection contract with them as of June 30th of 2018. And we would reassign that territory, that area, under contract to Bailey.
Okay.
Scott, is it any PR work that you could do or your people could do ahead of time rather than just send them a letter that the commissioners did this?
We can give it a try, yes.
What does that mean? Is that,
Um,
mean you'd rather not, but you will?
No, I don't
Okay.
mind doing it a bit,
Okay.
but Sims
I
is
want to
not.
understand what you're saying.
Yes, Sims is not would not be very happy at all, but we can certainly try.
We're talking about $8,000.
Yes, sir. We are.
They're gonna lose
And the
$8,000.
money, I don't think is the overarching issue.
What is it?
It's tradition.
Pride, tradition.
Right.
And that,
Is,
good question, I'm sorry. After,
No, you go ahead, sir.
not on this.
is Sims one of those fire districts that are taxable revenue and have a hard time making it? Or are they okay?
They are not, they're okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't say so. They got a 4% tax, and that's cheaper than anything we've got, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, if it's a matter of, it's gonna mess the budget up, we could help another year if we need to or something, but you don't think that's the case?
Well,
Not at
we're
this time.
helping this year.
Yeah, this
Okay.
time, and at
Cool.
this
Give
point in
them
the
a-
game, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah,
All right.
almost a year notice.
Entertain a motion, what Mr. Rogers just said.
So,
So,
I'm gonna go with the district there, and that's okay. Mr. Barnes, made a motion,
And I
seconded by Mr. Combs. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries, sir. Thank you.
Question, just looking forward, other than Silver Lake, there's no other, outside the county? And other than Bailey, do we serve areas outside our county?
Yes, sir.
What are they?
Sharpsburg serves in Wilson and Edgecombe. Brattleboro serves in Edgecombe. Whitaker serves in Edgecombe. Castaic serves in Franklin.
Maybe one or two more.
That's
You've
all
answered my
contracted,
question.
but there is some mutual aid in other places.
Yes, okay, thank you.
A lot of mutual aid to City of Rocky Mountain as
Yes.
well. Okay. All right, next item on the agenda, presentation by Amanda Flory, CARE. Ms. Lamb or
Yeah, I'll say a few things.
Stacy, somebody introduce our speaker for us.
Yeah, I'll introduce her. Amanda was actually on the original committee that started in January of 16. I think it was requested by Health and Human Services Board. In 13, we had 37 overdose deaths in Nash County. The next year, 45 deaths, and the year after that, 630 some in 2015. So the commissioners and the Social Service Board and Health Board decided to start this committee. I think Commissioner Barnes has been to every meeting the last 20 months or near about. But as of July 1 of 16, the commissioners appropriated $50,000 for a full-time transitional care, and Amanda was hired in that position. She had already been part of the committee, and so y'all have seen where the Commissioners Association's pushing people in counties to address the opioid problem, and I think I'm very proud that this county did it beginning January of 16. So and so far Amanda's done a great job. She'll tell you about HOPE and other things. Sheriff's Department, every time the Sheriff Department makes a bust of heroin dealers, I would say that they're saving lives. And I know the HOPE initiative is saving lives. It's no doubt in my mind. So this time I'll introduce Amanda.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you. Thank you all for having me. I'm very excited to share with you a little bit about what we've been doing for over the past year now, and also a little bit more about our coalition here in Nash County. So a little bit of history, like Mr. Lamb said, there was an identification fairly early on, and this was at the beginning of they called it the Heroin Epidemic Task Force and the HOPE Initiative, for a social worker to act as a liaison between patients that are coming into the program and the HOPE Initiative. They also wanted someone to take more of I guess, active role in spearheading the coalition. Whoop. Sorry, it's okay. So, and so my role began actually officially in May of 2016. As Mr. Lamb said, Nash County agreed to fund the position. And it's broken up into 3 pits, and I'll talk about each one of those as we go through. One is the transitional care social work piece, and that's focused on patients at Coastal Plain Hospital. Then Hope Initiative is the second part, and that again is me acting as a liaison between individuals that come into the hospital and with Chief Bayshore at the Hope Initiative program. And then I serve as the coordinator for our local substance use disorder coalition, and we go by the acronym of CARE, which is the Coalition for Addiction Recovery and Education. So a little bit about transitional care social work. What I do is for every patient that comes in and is admitted to Coastal Plain Hospital, I complete a post-discharge follow-up call with them within 72 hours of discharge. The main goal with this is to really reduce unnecessary readmissions. Hospitals are penalized heavily for readmissions within 30 days. And a lot of those can be avoided if issues are identified early on. And then if a patient is linked to the appropriate resource, or if it was a question with medication or with follow-up care, we can identify those while they're at home and hopefully correct that issue or answer questions, and they can remain stable in that home. And also, I act as the liaison and the coordinator. So a little bit about the coalition. We've been active now almost 2 years. In the beginning of 2018, we'll hit our 2-year anniversary. And so we were formed in February of 2016 in response to the opioid epidemic. Really, the county was very progressive and had great foresight in knowing that this issue was significant across the country as well as in our state and in our local area. And they wanted to get together and make a positive difference and an impact in whatever way we could. So again, it started out, we were the Heroin Task Force. It's different than the Car River Task Force, which is run through the Sheriff's Department and is aimed at more the supply side. But we are an interdisciplinary group, and we meet monthly at Coastal Plain Hospital. We have representation from the county level, local law enforcement, EMS, the health department, our LME and MCO, hospital employees. We're actively trying to engage the school district and our faith-based community. I always forget different agencies, and I feel horrible about that because it's truly very interdisciplinary. We have lots of representation and very well supported, and I'm very grateful for that. Through that, we've had a couple of community initiatives that we've put in place. One of those is our outreach education presentation, where we go to the different civic groups and organizations throughout the community and really talk about what we're seeing with the heroin and opioid epidemic. We want to educate community members about signs and symptoms. We want to break down the stigma that's related to addiction and mental illness, and we also want to provide resources that are available to individuals in our community. We've also hosted several forums. We have another one planned where we show documentaries and have a panel discussion afterwards. And our syringe exchange program. Syringe exchange became legal in the state of North Carolina in 2016. Nash County began theirs on April 7th of 2017. Our future projects, again, we really want to partner with Nash Rocky Mount Schools for prevention programming to get something solid in place for the children and youth in this county. And also, we would like to have a recovery community center in Nash County. And just a little bit more in depth about all of those. Again, we've got our heroin and opioid epidemic presentation. If anyone knows of anywhere that you would like us to speak, we would love to know that and come. Our next one we've got planned is in September at the Senior Center here in Nashville. Our community forums, the 2 that we did, one was last September at Edgecombe Community College, and then we did another one at Nash Community College, in March. And that one we did Generations Now. That was the documentary that we saw. syringe exchange program. Again, syringe exchange programs, it's a really, it's a public health initiative that we've put in place. It provides clean equipment to individuals that are in active use, as well as naloxone, which is the life-saving reversal medication. We provide safe disposal of used syringes, and also treatment resources and referrals. The ultimate goal of syringe exchange programs are always to get people into treatment and into recovery. We're open twice a week. We have a mobile syringe exchange that is in the rural parts of the county, and that operates Tuesdays from 4 to 7. They're in Nashville, Bailey, and Spring Hope. And then our fixed site is at the Impact Center, which is the old Home Depot building in Rocky Mount, and that's every Friday from 4 to 7. Our prevention programming, we've partnered with the Post Center and Port Health Services, and we're gonna bring in a really nice event to Nash Community College on October 7th. It's called Drugs Uncovered, and it really is gonna provide programming from ages, from children for kindergarten through 12th grade, as well as for parents. So it'll be broken up into different age ranges, and parents will also have their own education programming to sit in on and learn more. In our Recovery Community Center in Nash County, we've chosen the name Nash County Recovery Alliance. I applied for a grant, a small grant, in June, and we were awarded that $5,000 through RCNC, which is Recovery Communities of North Carolina. And with that, we've purchased items for activities. So we've purchased art supplies, bowling tickets, movie tickets, and a lot of games. We had our first activity 2 weeks ago, April 11th, I believe, and here in Recovery led a paint party. And then this Friday, we're gonna have a game night. So a local church has but allowed us to use space in a house that is on their property, and so we meet there. Currently, we're pursuing funding to secure an actual center in Nash County, and it'll be to pay the rent and utilities right now. Everything else will be in-kind. And so some of our monthly data, so this is gonna start I did start in May, but our calls, and this is focused more so on the follow-up calls, and it's got some other data in there, but that actually started in August of 2016. And again, tracking our readmission rate, our 30-day readmission rate, which is the third row down. We started at 18, and then in December, we ended at 18, I believe. So our rate did not change too much. But one thing, the bottom number is really interesting, because if you see, and this is our opioid use disorder readmission rate, and if you track it, it's gonna go up and up and up and up and up. So we started at 16.66%, and in December, it was already up to 22.79%. And you can see at the end of this fiscal year, in June 2017, we were up to 29.28%. And so, I mean, that is a significant increase. I know in the calendar year of 2016, our opioid use disorder admission rate for Coastal Plain Hospital was 25%. So 25% of our total inpatient population met criteria for an opioid use disorder admission.
Your 30 days has gone down the last 6 months. Yeah.
Yes, so where we started, we've now gone down to about 6.84%, which is really remarkable with the intervention in place of that follow-up phone call. And, you know, over those first couple months when we implemented, we made some small changes to it. And so as we've continued, we've seen a steady decrease of that 30-day readmission rate. Unfortunately, our opioid use disorder admission rate has gone up. And I started tracking in January our overall substance use disorder admission rate, and that has also increased. And so some outcomes. We have seen a reduction in our 30-day readmissions at Coastal Plain Hospital. When we started tracking in August of 2016, we were at 12.41%, and in June we were down to 6.84%. A little bit about the HOPE Initiative program. To date, we've had 200 participants come in. Out of that number, 117 have received care at Coastal Plain Hospital. And then out of that 299 participants have gone to a residential treatment program, and 42 are still in treatment today, which is wonderful. I think that there's been about a 10% or less return to use among admissions or participants that have been in the HOPE initiative.
Just in case you want to know where you are.
So, which is really good.
It's the eclipse.
It's okay. And so again, that is just a huge asset, not only to Nash County, but to the state as well, because we've had certainly numerous individuals that have been local participate in that program, but from out of county as well. And then the coalition, we're just so thankful for the support that everyone has given us. You know, again, Nash County has been very progressive in what they've done, you know, in the work with this, and extremely supportive. And so we're just very grateful for that, not only myself, but you know, I can speak for everyone else in the coalition. And then the continuation of funding for this position, you know, Trillium did refund it for this fiscal year of 2017 and 18, which I am very grateful for, so thank you. Any questions?
Go to the next one.
Any questions from board members from Outlaw?
Yeah, I'm just trying to digest all these numbers. The 30-day readmission rate, August 12%, June 6%. Now go back and show me that on the chart, the previous chart.
So the first one, August, is here.
Yes, sir. So right there.
Okay, then you're at 12.41 in August. In December, you're 12.58, so you don't have the 17
Yeah. it's
Next,
on this
yeah.
one.
number.
Yes, sir.
Okay, go
So
to,
this,
I just haven't, just
It's
too many numbers for me to digest.
Right here.
Well, she
So-
started in one year, then moved to the next
Okay.
calendar year on the next sheet.
So overall, are we seeing the readmission rate trending down or up or
sir.
flat or?
down.
Trending
There are,
down.
yes, sir. There are, and there have been a couple months that have been a bit of an outlier,
Yeah.
where we've had a higher number, but for the most part, we have seen a trend down.
Because if you look at the opioid use disorder admission rate in January of 22, and that's 29 in June. So,
Yeah. It's gone up, and they've had, experts have suspected that it will get worse before it gets better.
Why?
Unfortunately. There's a couple of reasons. One is the STOP Act, and even though that's a wonderful thing, it's going to make it more difficult to get a prescription. And so, individuals will likely turn to an illicit drug at that point, heroin. And also, it's cheaper still.
when you have a readmission, what changes to try to change that behavior going forward
So, do you mean specifically with a
with the
substance
program?
use?
Yeah, I know you hit them with the naloxone when they get on the drug,
Mhm.
and you release them from the facility.
So with the readmission, with the phone calls that we do, those are for all patients. And so it could be a primary mental health disorder.
Are you tracking those people once they are released, similar to the program that the Sheriff's Department is setting up? And I think they're using naltrexone or something like that. They're giving them a shot when they come out, and then they're giving them a shot
They haven't
11
started.
months.
They hadn't
No,
started
they're
that
gonna
yet.
start that.
Right.
Do you do any, is that something you do, or do you just
So-
release them? And
Well,
I'm just trying to figure out, we got HOPE, we got the CARE, we got the sheriff, we got all these different initiatives going on. Are all you guys coordinating efforts together? Are we seeing real results?
Yes, sir, I would say most definitely. And I do know that we are all working together.
Because it seems to me like that, it seems to be trending up, getting worse, just from what I read and see.
What's going up is the admission rate, not the readmission rate. So those that they are actually treating less and less likely to be readmitted. But what she's saying is that because of the 7-tablet Stop Act, that we can expect that to continue to go up, because when people can't get,
For a period of time, but then the back feed should eventually
Right.
slack off.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And hopefully there will be more access to treatment. That's another problem. We're a bit limited in this state. And it's not just this state, it's different parts throughout the country
It's everywhere.
in treatment on demand when an individual needs it. So, finding placement can be difficult at times. So there are a couple of things. And then, I mean, it's readily available to individuals, unfortunately. And so it's, you know, that is something that I know our law enforcement is working on to correct as well.
Other questions?
I got a statement. Yeah, I would just say that it is interdisciplinary. I mean, you've got the sheriff's department, Medina attends, the sheriff's department, Hope, the towns, mental health. A lot of people are working together to try to address it the best they can. And between the Hope initiative, having 200 people that have gone through there, and many of them have gone off to long-term residential treatment, and the efforts of Amanda, yeah, I think they are.
But
making
once
a
they hit the
difference.
program, you're tracking them.
They track everything, yeah.
Mr. Belfield, do you have a question?
Oh, I was gonna talk about the coordination between the
Okay.
two.
Chief,
Because
you
I thought in 16, that's where we started.
Right.
And that means that each one knowing what the other's doing and where one can complement the other.
How
Yes.
does, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, we definitely do, you know, Chief Bayshore and I work together closely with the Hope Initiative participants. And as far as the coalition, it's very much a community effort, so to speak, whereas, whatever we have going on and whatever we're trying to work towards, we have support, through the different parts in the county. In our hospital stuff, it's a little different, just because that's just me doing that part of it, but it kind of bleeds into other areas, maybe not knowingly, but it does. I don't know if that helps or not, but we do
Well,
work together.
Yeah, well, I know when we started off, because I attended, I know some of the first meetings when you started, it sounded like it was getting ready to get off to a good start. And certainly, I see where it'd be more effective rather than each group going its way and crisscrossing each other and wasting time in some instances and possibly funds too.
Mr. Lamb?
Syringe exchange, two questions. How has that been working out in the last 2 months? And also, isn't it true you can buy syringes in like the drugstore if you have diabetes or if you don't have diabetes? I mean, what are there any regulations on the purchase of syringes in drugstores? Do you know?
I think that the pharmacist or whomever is selling those has discretion whether or not they want to sell them. I don't, you know, I'm not sure how they make that determination, but I do know, just in speaking with patients, that they have been told that they've been turned away from pharmacies.
Good.
Which unfortunately, if they are turned away from purchasing clean syringes, it requires them to reuse a dirty syringe or share a syringe, which, you know, they could easily contract or spread a preventable disease at that point.
How's it going so far?
It's going well. You know, it's been a bit slow just because we're in that process still of building that trust with the community, because they want to make sure it's not a trick, because it does seem a little counterintuitive that, you know, we would provide clean equipment and take dirty equipment and stuff like that. But those that we have interacted with, it's been very well received and they are very, very grateful.
I may have read your expressions wrong, which I do frequently, but when you spoke about the school system and more involvement with them, you seem to have a little bit of difficulty there, in that, building that interaction and so forth.
Well, we have, and again, anyone is welcome to attend these meetings. They're open to the public, first Tuesday of every month from 3 to 5. And we would just like to have as much community involvement as possible. We know how crucial prevention programming is,
Sure.
and preventing substance use from starting in the first place. And so we would just like to do whatever we could to support their efforts in doing that. So it's a profession that I know is very busy, just like most of ours, but we would like for them to be involved and to just let them know that we would do whatever we could to help.
I guess I was just gonna offer, if you think this board could help you with that, we have seemed to have gotten improving a tremendous amount in our relationship with them, and we have intermeetings quite frequently, so if you see a reluctance there, let us know, and we'll try to help with that
Well,
just a little bit as well.
Thank you so much.
Other questions?
Just one thing, the community paramedics, what's the interaction of that group with all of these other groups?
I have attended, Brandon was attending, is attending. We actually have a meeting this week. We had one patient discharged from the emergency room, I think last week, that we didn't get notified about, and we had worked out an agreement with the emergency department that that would happen. As soon as the medical director found that out, he contacted us. We're meeting to make sure that doesn't happen. And we relate with Amanda on that. And if you're admitted and you're released after an opiate use, then we're also notified as well. But we wanted the ED part, the emergency department, and the hospital to contact us, and Dr. Moore is fully behind us.
You guys, like Fred said, are all working
Yes,
together,
sir.
you know, and having
Absolutely.
redundant
And we
efforts.
certainly appreciate what she's doing in coordinating.
Amanda, thank you tremendously for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Any other questions of her? I'm gonna keep moving.
Couple of comments on we're looking for a recovery community center location where we can hold meetings and just have more of a connection in the community. So we need a space. We're looking for a building or a space. If anybody has any thoughts on that. And the other thing is we're going to have a recovery rally in September
Yes.
here in Nashville.
And that'll be September 23rd at the Glover Park here in town. So it'll be the second annual one for Nash County.
Mr. Chairman, I will mention, it's sort of coincidental, we got a call this morning from a young lady we gave Narcan to at Walmart. She was transported to Nash. We're gonna find out what kind of recovery she went through, but she wants the name of our paramedics that helped save her life. And we're gonna try to, she's been clean since that day, and we're gonna try to find out how that has happened. So maybe it'll give us an even better idea with our community medics and with Amanda's group, how we can get other people to do the same thing. But that call came today. Our EMS director let me know.
Great. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is an update on the detention center security upgrade. Mr. Tolson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have sent out a memo basically recommending, we took bids on, or we took proposals on Cornerstone up front on the jail security upgrade system. This has been carried over for a few months, and we've been back and forth working out details on the proposal with what it would entail, what it would consist of with communications between the jail and the new courthouse expansion, and just coordinating everything, making sure the sheriff's office and the detention center were happy with the requirements inside of the proposal, making sure it had everything everybody wanted. I think through quite a bit of back and forth with the vendor, the sheriff's office and the detention center have gotten all of the things that we can put into this security system upgrade, but the detention center needs a security upgrade, and this is the contract and the proposal by the security firm to do it. At the last minute, you'll see in the contract that I think I sent out to everyone, there was an ad right at the end for one last little bit of coordination equipment that had to be put in that added about $28,000 to it. But we have gone through, vetted this entire package, feel like it is what is in the county's best interest to go ahead and award to move forward with this security system upgrade. So I would come to you today and ask you to either approve me, either the board signing the proposal, or authorize the chairman to sign the proposal, or to allow me to move forward with getting this project started and go ahead and get them started on this security system upgrade. It will be, we've gone through this process. We did not take additional bids for the project because we are using the same security contractor that has been, that is the subcontractor to Daniels & Daniels for the courthouse expansion. We found that that is allowed by the general statutes to perpetuate continuity and coordination, so we have a continuous system throughout the two buildings, and that they are compatible and expanded together. So with that being said, any questions? I'm happy to.
Mark, funding for this comes from contingency in the courthouse or not?
That was the immediate funds we were going to use to buy, because we are running at we're running at a net positive for the courthouse right now. Our change orders on the courthouse project are actually a credit to us right now. So until such time that we need to hit contingency for that, we will we will cross that bridge. But it doesn't look like we're having any of those issues to date on the courthouse expansion.
So you plan to get it from that at this point in time?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And what was that contingency you happen to recall?
It was $500,000.
$500,000. So we'll work on that pretty hard here.
Yes, sir.
Any questions, Mr. Toles?
Do you normally have payment and performance bonds with a contract such as this, or is that unusual not to have it, or?
We'll have a, it's not
I
unusual.
just wondered why it says on the last page, payment and performance bonds are not included. Should they be included?
On bid work typically, but this has been a negotiated contract. So it would be, you will have a contract with them, and they will be, I don't have an answer for will they be included in this. They haven't been part of the negotiations to this point, but if we need to ask for one.
I mean, I don't know, are there any, what are the implications of not having it? I mean, I'm not a contractor.
You're gonna have it on the first part that they're doing under Daniels & Daniels. That is covered by performance and payment bond. But we are hiring them directly, and apparently we didn't ask for one.
Yes, sir.
So it's not an issue?
I really don't think so, because you're halfway covered anyway.
Okay, well, then, probably for clarification, if you've got it covered anyway, you might want to have that in here, but.
Well, when you got part of it covered anyway, the part that they're doing under their original contract is covered, but the work they're doing for us would not have a performance and payment bond on it.
You contractors are good-witted, I am.
Any other questions? This is, excuse me, Mr. Evans, go ahead.
Update here is it going to be also include the new part, the new building? I know that will be attached. Is it just for the old?
This particular contract is for upgrades inside of the existing detention facility.
The jail.
But it does include a control panel that will get built into the new expansion building to control the jail, or to at least monitor and do some monitoring and some control of the jail security from the courthouse control room. And that's the ad that was added on right there at the end.
And that will include the jail also.
Yeah. What we're doing, we're putting in a whole new security system for the new courthouse and the old part of the courthouse. And this is a add-on that will integrate the detention center. They were looking to replace their system. They have old cameras and analog, and they needed to replace it anyway. They've been looking at it. So we've gotten a proposal that will integrate the two. If you have a, say, or hopefully never have one, but an incident at the jail or an incident in the courthouse, and those areas are not accessible by law enforcement, they can go to the other one and control things. But there are certain things that the jail will be able to control, and it cannot be sent off because you want that security. You don't want somebody breaking into the courthouse control and releasing all the prisoners over at the detention center. So it's as fully integrated as it can possibly be.
Well, the sheriff reviewed all this, is satisfied with it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I actually called the sheriff this morning, which Medina may well know this, I'm not sure, but, and asked him that very question, and he was totally in favor of what we had proposed to us today. I asked him about the study that he had some portion of the SBI come in and do a couple of years ago. Did it comply with that? And he said it fully included everything that they suggested that we do, so he was 100% happy. Anything you can offer to that, Brandon?
No, sir, I think you hit it right on the.
Okay.
And they've been involved and attended the meetings negotiating this up until this point. I'm really just bringing this to you at the last little bit to get approved. It's based on meetings we've had coordinating all of this.
Mike, I didn't read this word for word, but does it require any upfront payment, or is payment as work is completed?
I don't believe it requires any upfront. I don't think they're asking, they're doing so much other work that I don't think they're asking for that as part of this, because the courthouse expansion by itself is a rather large,
Okay. So
equipment
it's
purchase.
payment as work is done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If it was payment up front, I might should take Mr. Outlaw's suggestion on the performance of payment bond, but if it's not, I don't see an issue with it. And we are being asked today to approve this, pleasure of the board.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Wells to approve as presented, second by Mr. Bellfield. Any other questions on this matter? All in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Next item is a capital project ordinance for Northern Nash water system.
Okay, would you like me to stand at the podium, or can I just present?
I'd like for you to do what makes you most comfortable, man.
Okay, actually what I need
As long
to,
as Mr. Brown can hear you well.
the first thing I actually need to do is, it's item number 8, which is the budget amendment. I need to request a general fund transfer to appropriate fund balance. So that's this item, it's just one budget amendment.
So you want us to move to item 8 first?
I do.
Okay.
This budget amendment is to appropriate fund balance from the general fund to transfer to the Northern Nash Water Sewer Fund to cover closing costs associated with the state revolving fund grant and loan funds to be received. And that's $175,900 that we would appropriate from the general fund to help out with those closing costs.
Maybe you want to answer that question?
I know this is the 2%.
It's the 2% and the 1.5%
And we can't use the proceeds.
you can't use the grant or the loan proceeds to cover the closing costs.
Right, but it will be noted in your records that the general fund has lent this water system.
It is, and that's, and so
But
in
it's
the
not binding that it be paid back. It'll be in the discretion of the commissioners.
it's a transfer, it's not considered a loan at this point.
It looks like more transfer rather than loan.
It's
Is the
transfer.
funds not available in the enterprise fund?
It is not,
Okay.
they are not.
And we're gonna set up a separate enterprise fund for Northern Nash.
Okay, okay. Well, if that's all we put in it, we're gonna be much better off than what we thought we would be in the beginning of this process.
Well, my point is, if y'all want to forgive it, you can. If y'all want, when it's financially viable as a system, you can have it paid back. I've done this in other counties, same exact situation. It'll be up to y'all.
I think it would be up to you to bring it back to us.
Right.
If you so see, we can do that.
Right.
Okay, any other questions on it? entertain a motion to approve this
Move for approval.
budget transfer. Moved by Mr. Outlaw,
Second.
second by Ms. Barnes. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Ms. Wood?
The next item I have is to approve a capital project ordinance for the Northern Nash Water Sewer System Project. And the costs that I have are currently based on the project projections. And these are the projections are actually what we submitted with the state revolving fund application that we submitted to them. And the revenue for the anticipated project, $9,720,900. And that includes the general fund transfer that was just approved, with the expenditures as projected, $9,720,900.
Any questions on this presentation? This officially starts the project.
This officially starts the project so we can spend some money,
All right.
sign some contracts if necessary.
All right, entertain a motion to approve the capital project ordinance.
Move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Outlaw.
Second.
Second by Ms. Wells. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Brown, thank you and the town of Dorchester for y'all's assistance. And we will certainly be with you very soon. And if we have an update on water and sewer system for Dorchester. We're working on that.
We're actually gonna be having lunch with the mayor in the next week or two, yeah.
Right, okay. All right. You have something else? Was that what you were gonna say?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. Next item is, we did 9 already. Item 10, review resolution concerning water flow obstructions.
Yeah,
Mr. Lamb?
in the past, after hurricanes, state and federal governments, together with, sometimes with county matches, have gone and cleared, they call it clearing and snagging of creeks and waterways. We've done that in the past, after Floyd, I believe, after Isabel. Which one came first, Isabel or Irene?
Only time I recall us doing it in Nash County was after Floyd.
After Floyd, okay. And so far this year, this time after Matthew, there have been no funds that have become available to us. It's a problem all over eastern North Carolina that have streams, whether it's beaver dams or trees and other obstructions. So we're just asking the state government to work with us and work with the federal government to provide the funding to do that here in the county and throughout North Carolina. And I'll answer any questions.
Any questions on this item? And it is our intent to, if we pass this resolution, to provide it to our local legislators to hopefully ask for their assistance in providing or facilitating some funding. The last sources that I recall, they came from FEMA as well as the Army Corps of Engineers, the money that was spent in Nash County in 2001, I think, which was about a year and a half after Floyd.
Would we also provide it to DWR, state division of?
Nothing wrong with us, certainly we could, yes.
Yeah, I
Sure,
think we
yeah.
probably should, and I guess, would we also make other governmental agencies in this area aware that we have done this and ask them to consider doing the same? For example, the city of Rocky Mount, Edgecombe County, since some of us have had calls from
Areas in the city.
areas within the city
Right.
that have the same problem. It's not just a county issue.
Right.
We, if there are any particular entities, we'll try to think of the ones that we need to send it to beyond our legislators and Diener, but if there are any other entities, and we'll note the ones you just mentioned that y'all want us to send it to, we can certainly send it.
Obviously, the more people send it, if they're having a problem, the more attention it'll get. And also, on our NCACC, can we get some consideration from that group to get something like this included? Because it's not just a Nash County issue.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, when the counties submit their issues that they want, when we're establishing our legislative goals.
We just need to remember to include this.
Right.
Yeah, that'll be a year and a half from now. We can send it to every county clerk.
I think the more people we've got dealing with this issue at the state level, the more possibilities we're gonna have to get action.
Okay.
Yeah. You get the association behind it, it'll get attention.
We can get it to the association and to all the counties.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions on that?
I have a comment.
Sure.
When Wilson, City of Wilson condemned land along Turkey Creek, Moccasin Creek, their environmental impact statement said they would keep the creek cleaned out, free of trees and debris and beaver dams and stuff like that. I know they ain't got nothing to do with this, but can we say to them, it's not happening? And it's not happening.
Mr. Durham?
I'm sorry, I did not hear what he said.
When the City of Wilson condemned the land along Turkey Creek and Moccasin Creek to build, you know what I'm talking, to build a new dam.
Conservation
Their
easements.
environmental impact statement said that they would have to keep those creeks free of trees and debris, beaver dams and stuff like that to keep the water flowing. Well, they worked a little bit on it the first year or two, but they ain't touched it since. And I don't know whose responsibility that is to keep it cleaned out. I think it's theirs, but nothing happens. The trees all in it, and water backed up when it shouldn't be, and nothing's happening.
If that's what they agreed to do, you know,
That was the city.
that is their responsibility.
Well, we need to sign some of those agreements and send them a letter.
That's the city of Wilson or the county of Wilson?
City of Wilson.
City, that's the city's one.
You all have,
Part of the Buckhorn
Buckhorn.
Reservoir.
yeah, have you got a copy of it?
The environmental impact statement?
Yeah.
I don't believe so.
It's,
It could have been flooded during Hurricane Floyd.
When was
speaking
the
of
agreement?
rain in my basement.
When was the agreement? Years ago?
1997, 8,
It was right before the.
right, yeah,
You wouldn't-
Ford was 99.
You
It was
had
right
a
It
file
was
room.
before
You think
97.
something that old?
Anyway, I didn't,
We can look in the file room and see if we've got those records. And if we do, we'll give them to Vince.
I'd just like to, if we go and indeed contact them, I'd kinda like to know what we're doing, and let's do it in a very simple manner. Ben's, our relationship seemed to be improving
I
the
don't-
last year or two.
I don't know that,
So just a matter of how you do something.
I don't know how that we can say, I mean, the land belongs to theirs, I get, to them, I guess. Some of it they
The
bought, some
reservoir.
of it they condemned,
They
and
condemned.
I guess it belongs to the
Belongs
city
to
of Wilson,
Maintain.
but that was, in the agreement. And it,
Well, let's see if we can get the written or the writing of what it actually says, and then maybe we can determine if indeed we should take any action or how we should handle it. Can we charge you with that, Mr. Durham?
Sure.
Okay. All right, back to the requested resolution. Any other questions on it? Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Outlaw, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Cone. Any questions on that motion?
Just would like to ask that the record reflect the distribution of the resolution as we discussed to the counties, the NCACC, and the local governmental agencies.
Okay. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. All right, we're on item 11, which is a resolution for Project Dragon. Mr. Lamb?
Yeah, we've been asked by the Gateway Partnership to approve this as part of a building reuse grant.
And if I could speak, excuse me, I meant to say this before I turn it over to you. This particular item is up for a significant state grant. I don't know if any of you in the room remember which project this is for, but if you should, you need to use the code name in the process of approving this resolution. Excuse me, Mr. Lane.
That's the only thing we were waiting on.
I've got those directions from Trista again on Friday.
Yeah.
The reason I mentioned it again.
Yeah, and the press has inquired about
Correct.
what this is about, and so until the grant is approved and an announcement comes forth, it's a matter that for now is going to stay.
Well, we're expecting the government to make this announcement sometime during the current week that we're in.
Yeah.
And we are charged to allow the city governor to make that announcement is where we're at, which is a prerequisite of getting the grant. Excuse me, Mr. Lane.
That's good. That's good. That was good clarification.
Okay.
That's all I have. I would ask that, I think we do have a match of 5%. That's the county contribution, and I would ask that y'all approve the resolution.
All right, any questions on this matter?
I just would assume that there's some clause that if the expectations are not met with jobs and investment, then we would be dealing with that.
This is one of the state grant that is specifically based on job fulfillment, and if they're not fulfilled, the money does not come forward.
Well, I know we're gonna put in 5% of the total amount. I don't know how
Correct.
much that would be, but
Right.
that may not be something you want to share, but it may be a very insignificant amount. It may be not.
I would share it if I had prepared myself to do it, but I did not, Mr. Outlaw. I can let you know what that
Yeah.
is.
Yes, the point is if we're putting money in it and everybody else is putting money in it, there are expectations
Sure.
and we expect them to meet those expectations.
Absolutely. It's a protected grant, it's not an upfront grant. Any other questions? Entertain a motion for approval. Moved by Ms. Wells. Is there a second? Second by Chairman Davis. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by like sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is, well, actually, I'm at the point where I turn it over to Mr. Outlaw. Mr. Outlaw?
Yeah, we can move through this pretty quickly. If you've got any significant items to report, if not, just indicate no report. And this will close out our meeting today, short of any closing comments by the chairman or others. Commissioner Richardson, District 1.
No.
Commissioner Belfield, District 2.
Farmers Market Advisory Board will meet next Wednesday. Tar River Transit, we don't have a scheduled meeting. The Upper Coastal Plain Council and Budget, the Council of Government, we met last week. And no real significant items were on the agenda that I think that we need to put. Do you agree?
I gave out everyone, y'all, if you look through with some corrections you want, be sure to let them know the numbers in there come.
Okay.
This is a draft.
And I had promised you that juvenile council prevention, well, we meet next month, but I had promised you a report from the National Convention. Of course, they place a lot of emphasis on at the convention this year of Counties Uniting America and Healthy Counties. And the big issue that got a lot of discussion was the opioid epidemic that's spreading across the entire United States. And they were urging all counties to get on top of this, get started. Now, whether you think it's not a real problem in your county, that you need to be ready because it has been spreading and I know the state of Maine is a complete epidemic there. And they're placing a lot of emphasis on it. And I also attended a workshop on foster care and adoption. I learned that and I was surprised to hear that 80% of children in foster care and up for adoption have some disabilities. And they were saying that one of the things that each county ought to be doing is have a system set up within their social service department where you screen the families that are attempting to adopt these children, because many of them need special help. And if you don't get the right, you don't choose the right family for them, it could be disastrous. But some of these kids end up committing suicide because of that problem. There was a company there, and they said they're operating in North Carolina. Now, I got one of their manuals. I said I was gonna give it to, here it is here. I said I was gonna give this to Donna Boone, I was Social Service Director. This company can assist you in any way that you would like for them to do, and it tells you about what they do in here, and working with counties in their foster care and adoption program. That was one of the big ones that I really took an interest in and attended. There were many others, but I won't prolong other than healthy counties. That's the theme. And this is something that with healthcare costs like it is today and social service costs and things, that we need to place as much emphasis as possible on healthy, making your county as healthy as possible. And the more you emphasize it and making the communities aware of what you mean by healthy counties, they believe that your health costs will go down. And I'll leave it at that. That I enjoyed being at the National Convention, which was held in Columbus, Ohio. It also gave me a chance to talk with county commissioners from other counties and getting ideas as to what they're doing on certain issues that I'll be glad to share from time to time as we're dealing with these issues in this county.
Thank you, Mr. Belfield. We appreciate you representing us at NACO. District 3, Commissioner Cone.
Health and Human Services Board did meet last Thursday. As y'all know, it's been in the papers and everything, they're gonna rebid the landfill expansion project because the bids come in at least double what we expected them to be, Mr. Hill. The health department is up for reaccreditation, which will happen October the 10th and 11th. We had a report from Donna Boone from Department of Social Services. Everything there is about normal, their caseload's about normal, no big issues with them. The biggest discussion we had was what we're gonna do with home health care, and that's all I'll say about that right now, but it's kind of up there.
Enough said.
And the Ag Advisory Board has not met.
Thank you, Commissioner Cone. District 4, Commissioner Barnes.
The UNC Nash Healthcare Board met August 3rd. You should have received a copy of those minutes that were approved. Only thing I can really report is that the the spring leapfrog results should come out in September, so hopefully that rating will improve. The other meeting that we had last week with Willis Partners, the recruiting firm that's identifying or trying to identify a new CEO. So we met with them, that went well, and that process is underway to locate another, or candidates for the CEO position. The Trillium, the Central Regional Board for Trillium Healthcare Resources, Donna Boone and I attended that, our first meeting with Trillium. Everybody was very supportive of Nash County and welcoming, so that went well. And that's all.
Thank you,
The
Commissioner
meeting
Barnes.
was a little more friendly.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
We were doing the happy dance.
I don't have anything to report. Nash Community College, the bond money there's no change in that. And we have not had an RPO meeting. I do want to mention, as it relates to broadband, that, and I don't know what we can do about this, but I'll provide the specifics to county manager. But I was notified by a young lady that her cable was cut. I don't know how it was cut, back on July the 28th, and she's having some difficulty. This is not CenturyLink or Suddenlink, this is a different provider. And she's having some difficulty making contact with her provider, and she's kind of getting the runaround on it. So I don't know what we can do to help her, but I'll provide you with the information, and maybe we can maybe make contact with the provider or do something to try to help her in this situation. Ms. Wells, do you have anything on?
What area is that in, Wayne?
It's in the Nashville area.
Red Oak,
No,
Nashville Road?
it's not Red Oak.
I mean, is it on Nashville Red Oak Road?
No.
Okay, it's a different one then, okay.
It's-
I know who that
I
provider is.
I hesitate to
Understand.
name the provider, but
Yeah, okay.
it may be
I
same
know,
one
I
you're
know
having
who
some
it is, but I had a
difficulties with.
similar problem not too
I
long
think
ago.
she's trying to make contact, and she calls Kentucky, but she may actually be getting
I'm
a
amazed.
foreign country. I don't know that she's really making much headway with
I
it.
chased that rabbit one time and got to the bottom of it. I may have some information
Okay.
that would help you.
Great.
Yeah, most of those,
I think it kind of
Companies.
highlights the
Yeah.
importance of our broadband project,
Yeah.
which I know, at some point we're gonna move forward with that.
Yep.
District 6, Commissioner Wells.
Attorney board met last week, there's nothing really from that, except they're doing a lot of things helping people that are not able to work and disabled. And STEP had a business summit, I think some of y'all attended that.
Just to comment on that board, Ms. Janice, will we have an application for a new member on that board at our next meeting, I believe, right? Okay, great. Okay, anything else, Ms. Wells? District 7, Commissioner Davis.
Travel and tourism has not met. I would invite you to watch the Dunn Center shows that'll be starting shortly, as the Travel and Tourism Development Authority did provide some money to those shows. Like to have you go out when you can. The MPO has not met. They'll be meeting in September, and I have asked to hold this agenda for this meeting as lean as we can, because I really need to go. It starts at 4 o'clock, so I'm gonna leave in time to go to that meeting next month, because I've missed 2 in a row because of this meeting. The Shell building, I think we're all up to date on that. Contracts were let, and of course came in very well. We're moving forward with that. Coal Rock improvements, we did have a committee meeting last week, and I think you probably were able to read in one of our local papers basically what went on at that meeting. And if you got any questions on it, the Go Rock Inn, of course, did close. It will be open until mid-November, then will be closed and demolished, and we are still working on the other one. And it's moving along pretty well, quite frankly, to bring it to a closure.
Do we need to move our next mid-month meeting earlier?
I don't think so.
You think we got enough time?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
That staff's gonna work to keep your agenda pretty short, and I may have to miss the committee presentation, but other than that, it should be fine.
We actually removed a couple of things from this agenda.
Yeah.
Okay,
Because it was getting
Okay.
too long.
that's it for me.
That completes the reports,
All right.
Chairman.
Any other item for the commission before I call for a closed session? Mr. Bell?
Yeah, this is census information, it was sent to me, but,
As
you-
chairman.
You the chair now, so,
Yeah, we
You
all
just
got that.
Give it to staff.
Yeah.
Be fine with me.
Yeah, I'll give it to planning, that they handle census.
I still get one piece of information from when I was the chairman 6 years ago, so it takes a long time to catch up.
Usually state agencies.
Yeah, that's right. All right, we have, two items for closed session that are covered under the, attorney-client privilege. I'd entertain a motion to go into closed session at this time. I do not expect any action on either one of them.
Second.
could we have a recess before we go into closed session?
Let me get the motion off first. We got a motion by Ms. Wells, by who?
Mary?
Mary, and a second
Second.
by Ms. Barnes, okay? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? We'll take a 5-minute recess. We'll try to get back to several of us commissioners that need to be somewhere at 5:30, out at the college if we can make it.
Oh.